The Hinomi H1 and Hbada E3 are two of the most popular all-mesh chairs out right now, and we're going to find out, are they good for long-term sitting, and are they worth that $600 price point? Both chairs are around the $600 mark, with the Hbada E3 being $549.99 and the Hinomi H1 being $629. Both chairs feature all-mesh designs with a ton of different adjustments, headrests, and footrests. From a build quality standpoint, they are very similar, but I'd have to give the edge to the Hinomi H1. The chair feels a bit more solid, and some of its basic components, like the casters and wheelbase, are better quality. Both chairs feature mesh seats, but they feel quite different to me. The Hbada seat feels much firmer, but I think that's a good thing here. The Hinomi is softer, but I sink too far into the seat because the mesh is so loose. This causes tension in my tailbone. I also prefer the frame design on the Hbada chair over the Hinomi because the Hinomi chair feels like a bucket seat. It has that tall frame on the sides, and I do not like that because it feels restrictive and rigid. One advantage the Hinomi chair does have is its sizing and adjustability. The depth adjustment allows for taller people to use the chair, and while the Hbada also has depth adjustment, the seat frame becomes an issue when you extend it all the way out. Tall people may be able to feel the back of that seat frame, which is uncomfortable. The backrests are also quite a bit different from one another. I appreciate that they each have some unique elements. The Hinomi chose the split backrest design like the Ergonomic chair. This gives you great lumbar support, and they also made the lower half adjustable, allowing you to make the lumbar more or less pronounced. This could be a great option for people that love super aggressive lumbar support. The one downside to this is that it doesn't offer very good upper back support because the lumbar pushes you too far forward in the seat, and your upper back doesn't make contact with the backrest unless you're in a reclined position. The Hbada's chair back is one of the most unique backrests I've ever seen. Its main differentiator is the side flaps. While I still don't know if they serve an actual ergonomic function, they do give you the option to feel like the chair is more closed off or more open. I prefer to use them in an open mode. I'm not a fan of chairs that feel like they're hugging you. Another unique thing about the back on the Hbada chair is that you can adjust the height of the lumbar and upper back independent of each other. Most chairs that have a back height adjustment operate like the Hinomi, where the entire back moves together. Being able to adjust both halves of the back separately gives you more options to find that perfect combo. I think the Hbada is better for the upper back support because while the lumbar is also aggressive, I didn't find that it pushed me too far forward and allowed me to have my upper back and shoulders supported. Both chairs have highly adjustable arms, but they went about it in different ways. The Hinomi arms have 4-way adjustments, and the ranges are pretty good. I would prefer that the minimum height was a bit higher, but they're not bad. One disappointment was that they didn't use the cantilever design to make them adjust like the gesture chair from Steelcase. Instead, you need to unlock them and relock them for each height adjustment. I don't love this. My biggest gripe with the Hinomi arms is going to be the pads. They're firm, sloped, and slick. My arms slide off the sides quite a bit, which is pretty annoying. The Hbada has a T-arm design with the standard 4-way adjustment you'd expect on a $600 ergonomic chair. You also have an additional upward angle adjustment. This is useful for using your phone, tablet, or other device. It is a very unique feature to have. I think they did a better job with the pads than Hinomi. I think the pads could be softer, but they're not terrible. They also are large and flat, so they're easier to use than the Hinomi. The one major downside with the arms on the Hbada, and potential deal breaker for some, is going to be the low end of the height range. These are positioned way too high in my opinion. I can't come close to using them underneath my desk, which is my preferred way to use them. The recline on both chairs is quite similar, aside from one factor, which I think makes a massive difference. Both chairs have a standard synchro tilt action with good range. Both offer deep reclines and a very open backrest angle. They also each have multiple locking positions throughout the entire range. The major difference is the tension control. The Hinomi has great tension control, and the Hbada has none, and this makes a world of difference to me. The Hinomi not only has tension control, but they ditched the infinite turning knob for an adjustment that clicks into each position, which makes more significant changes instead of having to turn the knob 20 times for it to do something. I like that system a lot. Unfortunately, Hbada chose the weight-sensitive system where you do not have any tension adjustment.
But as soon as I get to here, I'm going back.
For me, it ruins the recline on this chair. I cannot leave the chair unlocked, otherwise it forces me either fully upright or fully reclined. There's no in between. Using it semi-reclined is not possible unless you lock the chair, which I don't like to do. The headrests are the highlights of each chair. I think both did a fantastic job, and this is one of the biggest reasons to consider both models. There are not many chairs in this price range with headrests as well put together as these. Both headrests are massive, which means you have plenty of room without having to worry about bumping up into a hard plastic frame. frame. The Hbada headrest has 4-way adjustment. It's the first time I've ever seen something like this. The ranges are huge, and the 4 different adjustments allow you to use the headrest any way you want. If you want to use it fully upright while tasking, no problem. You need to take a break and want to kick back, it works great for that too. Not many headrests can offer that. The Hinomi can though, but they went about it differently than the 4-way adjustment. The Hinomi headrest has your standard 3-way adjustment, which is pretty common on most ergonomic chairs. The ranges are all great though. The one unique thing about the Hinomi is that it has dual mode. You can flip the headrest one way for relaxing and the other way for tasking. It's a really cool design and very effective. Almost every chair I've tested with a footrest just feels like it was a worthless add-on that takes more away from the chair than it adds. I don't feel that way about these footrests though. The Hinomi footrest isn't perfect, but it's better than almost every other footrest I've used. For starters, it has a good range, allowing you to pull it out far enough to support you properly instead of it just going against your calves or ankles, which is not comfortable. It also has a bit of a rounded design, which helps to reduce the pressure point caused by that front edge. I do wish the design was slightly more rounded and a bit more padded though. If they had done those two things, then it would be right there with the Hbada footrest as the best footrest I've used. The Hbada has good range, it's soft, doesn't have any pressure points, and it's easy to use without having to lock the chair. The balance on the Hinomi isn't as good, so you can't use the footrest unless you lock the chair. The weight of your legs just push your feet forward and pull you into a forward position, whereas the Hbada allows you to use that footrest through the entire range comfortably. The Hbada E3 and Hinomi H1 are similarly priced and offer a ton of adjustability, but they are quite a bit different and offer different things depending on what you value most in a chair. If neither chair looks right for you, check out our office chair cheat sheet in the description with our full rankings on almost every chair we've reviewed.